Yeah, just very disappointed in our performance on Saturday night at Clemson versus a very good Clemson team. We knew that going into the game they were a good football team, but we didn't perform the way we wanted to perform. So we got back early Sunday morning and watched the tape, made our corrections, and we moved on to ECU. And I got a lot of respect for Coach Houston at ECU. They have a great football team. It's going to be a great game in Greenville on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. As a reminder to our members of the media, if you have a question, go into reactions and raise your hand, and we'll be more than happy to call on you. All right, we'll start off with Sam. Sam, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, as you turn that page to ECU, obviously got to look at them against a conference opponent from this past weekend. But, what do you think are a couple keys to that game to come out with a victory there?
At East Carolina?
Yeah, at East Carolina.
We have performed better in all three phases of our game. I think we played well enough on defense, give up too many explosive plays that resulted in touchdowns, and then offensively we had to stay on the field longer and do a better job on third down. So those are going to be the keys for us. Again, East Carolina's got a high-powered offense. They ran 96 plays this past weekend with a great quarterback, and their defense is playing at a high level right now. You watch them versus Old Dominion. There really wasn't much offense from ODU because of the great players and scheme that East Carolina has.
And then, Coach, could you just talk a little bit about Anderson Castle's performance from this past weekend against Clemson? Thought he was kind of one of the bright spots for you guys.
He was. Again, very proud of Anderson. Again, he came here as a defensive player. We moved him to running back, and he plays like he practices. He's a tough-nosed kid, and he loves the game. He loves App State. So I just thought he played very well. I thought he had some tough runs in there that resulted in some first downs, and then had a few long runs. So again, very proud of Anderson, and again, he'd give that credit to the offensive line as well. Thought he blocked well versus a very good front four. Clemson's front four, probably four first-round draft picks. So again, very proud of that. We have to build on that this weekend.
Over to Joe Longren. Joe.
Hey, Coach. Through these first 2 weeks, East Tennessee and Clemson, two very different teams. What do you think you've learned about your team in playing those two different opponents?
Well, I think you have to learn what you do best. And I think for us, we have to make sure we get back to some, fundamental part on the back end and having clean eyes and not getting your eyes stuck on the quarterback. I mean, when that happens, sometimes that you lose container, bad leverage. So those things we can improve on the offensive side of the ball. I still think Joey's a great quarterback, gets the balls out of his hands quick. And I think we have some good receivers. Our offensive lines played better this week than they did the week prior. So there's some good things on that tape. You look at it, we had 24 first downs versus one of the best defenses in the country this past weekend, and thought we moved the ball later in the second half and the beginning of the third. So there's some positives to it. I know the score does not indicate that, and we understand we have to improve, but there are some positives in a tough loss.
Go over to Adam. Adam.
Hey, Coach, you got an in-state non-conference game. Does that mean a little extra to the team? Are you guys, is this big on the recruiting trail? Just kind of the excitement of having a non-conference in-state game like this.
No, I think I love playing in-state games. I think it's great for our state, keeps the money in here. And again, Coach Houston is one of the good guys in coaching. He runs a great program, and again, it's going to be a great crowd. They have another passionate fan base, and just like ours. So I guess it's going to be a great turnout on Saturday, and we're excited to play these kind of games in state.
All right, thank you, and thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, good win last week. Guys started fast, didn't probably finish as well as I would have liked, but at the end of the day, winning is hard. There's a lot of teams that want to be 2-0 right now, and we'll take it. And we got to prep for a very good Temple football team. Probably very excited to be at home for their home opener.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. We'll start off with Adam. Adam, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, your first two games, you guys have put 95 points up. You have almost 600 yards on the ground. What can you say about the teams, or specifically the offensive line's job, and how your evaluation of how they've been in the run game versus, your pass game was a little, it was hard to get started last week, but so with the run game, and then, how you feel that they're adjusting into the pass game as well, the offensive line.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very pleased with where we're at offensively. I love the way we're running the football. Coach Wareheim has done a tremendous job up front with our guys. Coach Proctor with the tight ends. Coach Dye with the running backs, and I mean, I'm very, very pleased with that. And our passing game's been good. I wouldn't call it great to this point. We probably missed on some throws and some plays I think our guys wish they had back, but we've run the football and created some really big plays, and we're scoring at a pretty good pace. Again, I think what happened a little bit, we lost some concentration. I think we first 3 drives we went down and scored touchdowns. The 4th drive was a field goal. That's pretty good. And then, like I said, at the end, I just think our guys, we weren't as focused, and that's on me as a coach and our players. We just got to do a better job of finishing people off.
Go over to Billy. Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking at the stat sheet, you had a lot of defensive numbers. What do you think has attributed to that and everybody just really flying to the football?
Yeah, I said earlier, like I feel like we have a lot of talent, a lot of depth earlier in the season, and we're going to play a lot of guys. And I think you're seeing it really kind of on both sides of the ball. There's no one go-to person on either side of the football, but it's collectively, and it carries over in our units as well, special teams. So I think everybody's eager to play. They're hungry to play. They get the opportunity to go play. They play really hard and they chase the ball. So I've been pleased, especially early on. We got to do a better job finishing in the 4th quarter with some of our younger players. But for the most part, we've done a pretty good job.
And we'll go back over to Adam. Adam.
Hey, Coach, and I guess this kind of follows up just with my last question with the run game and your offensive line, but you used a number of guys taking handoffs in the backfield. How are you determining, is there kind of a competition there, a healthy competition that you're deciding who has the hot hand, or is there someone who's kind of breaking ahead in your eyes that's kind of maybe going to take the reins and see a little more of the share of the carries?
It's a long season, right? And so you have opportunities to get guys live action. It's hard to simulate. You try not to tackle much in practice due to risk of injury. So when you have opportunities in games, you want to try to get as many players as you can, give them opportunities to touch. We're still learning and growing as a football team. Our running backs are learning and growing, with the exception of Braden Bennett and Javen a little bit, but really Braden's the only guy that's really played a lot of football here. So we're finding out what the other guys can do.
And we'll go over to Sam. Sam.
Coach Beck, kind of a unique situation this weekend coming up, playing inside an NFL stadium. Is that something you've had the opportunity to do at any of your past stops? And is there anything that you maybe talk to your team about the look and feel of the stadium and everything like that going into a game at Temple?
Yeah, I've many times I've had the opportunity to do that. One of the biggest things is the yard markings, right, where the numbers are and the divider in terms of, the hash, all of those things. So you got to talk through your team about that, because when you tell a guy to line up on the numbers, the NFL numbers are different than college. And so you go through that with them. Usually the NFL stadiums, the sidelines are a little bit further away. So it seems, and I haven't looked at the stadium there exactly to know, but a lot of them are, they keep their distance, but it's 100 yards long. So at the end of the day, it's the same. It's the same anywhere. It doesn't matter.
All right. And you got time for one more from Billy. Billy.
Hey, Coach. Just kind of wanted to know, how do you keep the team motivated? Temple's had 2 pretty tough games, but they're going and playing their first home game. How do you motivate the team to go in there and take care of business?
Yeah, I think number one, it's a home opener. They played 2 good opponents. Going to Oklahoma on the road is no easy task for anybody. And then playing a triple option Navy team the next week. We found out what that was, playing Army. Those are always really, really hard games to play and prepare for. So you look at that and you understand that. Temple will be tough. I know Coach Drayton, we work together at Ohio State and Texas. He'll have his guys ready to play. They'll be physical. They'll be well coached. And ultimately the game still comes down to us. We got to protect the football. The game's simple. We got to block. We got to play physical. We got to run hard, we got to throw, we got to catch, we got to tackle. And if we do it better than they do, I like our chances.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, thank you.
Just really proud of our players and our coaching staff. I thought that we came out ready. We started fast. I thought that we got a big stop on the opening drive of the game and really set the tone for field position. I felt like we were able to obviously produce points in those situations. We want touchdowns and not as many field goals, but our kids played with a lot of energy, a lot of passion. Felt like hitting that big field goal right there before the half to make it a 13-6 game was a big moment. And then we come out and we drive, 9 plays that first drive of the second half, but we don't get points. We've got to execute points right there. But as the game went and we were able to produce some plays, big plays on special team, I thought our kicking game was key. Making them drive the length of the field. We were able to pin 2 more punts inside the 10. So that's 4 in 2 games for Mackenzie Rahne, which is a big deal. Thought our defense played lights out. The effort and energy. We were getting 11 hats to the ball. I thought they came up. They had some big takeaways. We were able to pull 2 out and get 1 interception. So I thought that defensively, really overall, had an outstanding game, held them to under 100 yards rushing. We've got to do a little bit better on third down conversions on defense. But overall, it was a great moment for our town. It was a great moment for our university, for our players, for our fans. It was a big moment in this first step and first phase of rebuilding this program.
Thank you, Coach. We'll jump over to Luke Creasy. Luke?
Hey, Coach, what maybe has stood out to you the most about that effort and attitude these first couple weeks of the season?
I think the growth from week 1 to week 2, and you hear it all the time, but I thought our effort in practice has been good. It's been good. And Jackson State's got a pretty good football team. I think people are going to find out as it goes. And that was our first game together. But the next week, last week's practice, that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the level was it was high. And it was player-led and not coach-led. It's been coach-led really, in my opinion, up till probably Tuesday or Wednesday. And it was a great sign. It rained for about 2.5 hours, just dead on us Thursday at practice. And our kids came out with a lot of juice. We had 92 snaps. We didn't put 1 ball on the ground. And it was player driven. And then I knew we had a shot because, we could have easily went out there and not done the things that were needed to be done. But I thought that was growth and maturity, when you've added 73 new guys to a roster that sometimes normally doesn't happen. So I thought that was great. I just thought, from week 1 to week 2, we just took a huge step as a football team.
All right, we'll go over to Adam. Adam, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you gave 3 different guys double-digit carries in the game. You guys ran the ball well. Are you seeing any kind of separation between those 3 backs? Is someone kind of or is it just sort of, you're playing the hot hand when it comes to things?
We really base it off practice each week. Who has the best practice throughout the week? Because we got a great competition. We've got a room in there. You probably saw number 34, Azario Smith, OZ, come in and hit a big outside zone there late in the game. And he's a guy that's coming on. You got Bennett Galloway that's had some good practices. So we were able to see him there towards the end. But, Taven Curry had a great week of practice. Ahmad had a good week. And I think James had an outstanding week, and he was coming in, and he got tweaked. He's got his ankle banged a little bit, that's part of being a running back. But overall, we've got a good room. There's good culture. They push each other. They support each other. They understand the importance of practice each week on who's going to, really start us off and earned it.
And we'll go over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach. You kind of mentioned this a little bit, but I was just curious your thoughts on really controlling that line of scrimmage and how you felt like your defense really dictated how that, your offense did great running for over 200 yards, but when your defense sets the tone like that, what does that mean?
Well, it's just, to me, it's called complementary football. It's a term that a lot of people don't use anymore. We won a lot of games and we won several championships running this style of football. As we want to play great defense. We want to be aggressive. We want to be able to get up and play press man. We want to be able to get after the quarterback. We want to control the line of scrimmage and get 11 guys just like everybody else does. And we want to control the time of possession, and we want to run the football on offense. We've got to execute better situational football. We had opportunity to finish the second half with the ball in our hands on offense and end the game in 4 minutes, and we didn't do it. We've got to get better at third downs on offense and defensively. In red zone, we need touchdowns. So, we've got to put all these things together and continue to grow. But defensively, that's 2 games in a row, that we've held our opponent under 100 yards rushing. So this style is a style that we believe in. We've won championships with this style. We've got a long way to go at ULM, but I'm proud of our kids. I love the way they're approaching each day. Our town is, you can feel the energy and the excitement is starting to grow and come together. So it was just a big day for ULM, and it's one day at a time now. We've enjoyed that Sunday and we've got to move forward and go on to the next one.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yep. A good win going into bye week. Obviously a chance to improve a whole bunch, which is exactly what we got to do. And I thought there were glimmers in that film that we really liked, and there were things that we really didn't like. There's just it couldn't be at a better moment in time for a bye week right now than what we got. So I'm excited to get into this. I'm excited to just, again, continue to build this depth. This is a group of guys that all of them are finding themselves in a situation where they have not been the guy yet, right? So this is their first time where they're really, we have the 2 on offense, and we have really 2 or maybe a 2.5 on defense that have been starters for multiple years. And it's just one of those things that, it took a minute. And I think right now getting into this bye week is perfect timing. So excited for, our improvement this week, and looking forward to getting back out on the field again tomorrow.
I appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Mike Barber. Mike.
Morning, Coach. Congratulations again on the victory. As you reviewed the film, what did you see in terms of run defense tackling? It felt like the tackling was better than the opener. What do you see in there?
Yeah, I thought that the tackling was a whole lot better. I thought that where we were in our gaps was a whole lot better. I thought that there was some, big stops that we had in there. And I thought we were able to put this running back on the ground. I thought he was a good running back, and we said it before, but he started at Temple for a little while, and was a good player, but I thought we did a much better job tackling. A couple things on 4th down that we got to clean up, which we just did on the field and we'll continue to do throughout this week, because those things will keep showing up. So we just got to make sure that we cure that. But I thought we did a much better job tackling at the D-line position, at the linebacker position, and secondary, just a little bit more work in there, but we're closing in on it.
Dobbs is obviously a big part of all your defense, but a part of what we're talking about. How confident were you that his skills would translate up a level? Obviously, you knew his game, you knew how good he was. How confident were you that his skills would make that jump too?
Very. And not only his skills, I think his ability to learn a defense, his ability to know his weaknesses, and his ability to protect his weaknesses, I think is probably one of the more underrated things that, his game consists of. And to watch him go out there and lead this group and get us in the right calls, and just over and over and over again, there was no doubt in my mind that he could play at this level and maybe a higher one as well. I think he's a phenomenal athlete, a great leader, and just a student of the game, and very realistic when he, self-evaluates. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't need his mom and dad to tell him he's good. He needs to truly study and figure out what he's putting on film and make sure that he corrects that every single week. And he does that consistently for the past, 6 years now. And
if I could sneak in one more, what have you learned in your career about managing the open date? When did you start looking at Carolina? What would have been some of the things you've kind of picked up?
Yeah, so I don't want to give you everything, but there's a future opponent and future opponents were shorter weeks, so we're going to get on a little bit of that, as well as North Carolina. We could get the base game plan rolling with these guys, which we already have done. But now we're going to get into more of the third down, red zone, goal line, and just initial thoughts of it. I imagine by the time they get there, they do very different things, with the same root of it, but it will be presented in very different ways. So really this week to me is about getting back to the way we practice. It's getting back to a lot of good on good, actually, and just get the speed right again, get caught up to speed with our angles and our coverage and all the things that come with it, and make sure that we're getting better, every single day out here. To go scout for 2 weeks in a row is good, but to have a chance to shut it down and come back to good on good with 1 or 2 scout periods in there only is what I'm excited about. To just put good on good, speed on speed, iron on iron, and let these guys just continue to sharpen.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Let's jump over to Sam. Sam?
Coach Chesney, always great to be undefeated going into a bye week, but what have you learned about these 2-bye years? How beneficial are these 2-bye years for your team to be able to do some of those things you just mentioned with Mike? And then maybe what are 1 or 2 things coming out of, the 2 weeks that you've had that you want to see your team improve on in this, bye week?
Yeah, so the bye week, again, it is really perfect timing to, especially being 2-0. I think that the game being what it was is a necessary lesson. And I think if it went differently, I think we would miss the lesson. And I think that right now, I'm going to find the positives in this, and there are positives in this, is that there's a lot that we can tighten up. There's a lot that we can correct. And when you get into game week, you get so scheme driven, you get so into what the other team's doing. You're looking at 12 to 13 weeks of film from the opponent, as well as where those coaches came from before. So another 12 games of that, whatever that might be. Then you're studying the opponents. And now you have a chance to still do that with this team coming up, and us to, again, just get started on some of the other opponents coming in the near future. But ultimately, it's a chance for you to really study you as well. And there's nothing really better, to me than that, getting a chance to put your good on good again. And let's just see, where we're at, and just watch how, the improvements that are made. And I said to these guys, come Thursday morning, after that practice is over, they're going to have a little bit of time. I just said, you got to extract every ounce of, improvement from it as you can. Don't wait for Thursday and be excited to go home. Hope Thursday never shows up, and just go as hard as you can every day and get better every single day. So that's ultimately, where we find ourselves.
Got time for one more. We'll go over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach. Just one more thought about this past week's game. You kept them out of the end zone. Got to have some pride defensively in that. And then how do you build that going into this bye week, like everybody's talked about?
Yeah, I think it's that. So those, we consider those 4-point plays down there. They're in field goal range, but if they get a touchdown, it's 4 more points, right? So we practice that immense amounts with motions and as many different looks as we could possibly get. Because again, that's what wins you games or loses you games. And to be 2 for 2 on offense and hold them out of there, I think is, was a good day for us. So there is pride in that, but there's pride in how we got there, not necessarily the fact that we did it, but how we got there, and just continuing to stick with, that process as we roll through this, because this is this is an important week for our program as exists, right? Is this bye week right here on week 3.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'd just like to, one more thing, just make sure I say congratulations to Coach Matthews. He's been around the program a lot and been up here for practices, but both he and the 2004 team, just class acts, and just the standard, right? They set the standard, and it's our job to continue to uphold that standard. And, just proud and happy for him and that team. And I got to imagine it's pretty awesome to come back and be, with you, that being inducted into the Hall of Fame and your entire team, that's got to be a pretty cool shared Saturday. So just a huge congrats to them.
Appreciate that, Coach. Have a good day. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm out of practice, and we had a good day. Obviously, the win versus UTSA was a big one for our program, right? This university, recruiting, everything that goes with all that. And good thing is the schedule aligned where we couldn't enjoy it very long, and we're back to work. So it's good. We got a Big 12 opponent coming to our house, which is very unique, which is awesome, and we got to be able to take advantage of that. Questions?
Thank you, Coach. Well, I'll start off with David. David, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, really good day for your defense against an offense that moves really fast. I just wanted to ask you schematically, what are the keys to kind of defending a fast-moving offense like the one UTSA has?
Yeah, I think, good thing is for our defense is they face that every day in practice. And, there's things that we do throughout the week of practice, throughout the off season to get ready for those type of deals. And I think our defensive staff put together a great plan. They really did. I mean, we spent a lot of time on UTSA, and it showed on Saturday.
All right, we'll go over to Jacob. Jake, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, good to see you again. Congrats on the win. To
Thanks.
your point, just about scheduling, wanted to know, just could you shed some light on kind of the juggling aspect of it? 3 very different opponents in weeks 1 through 3. Kind of like, what do you choose to put on tape versus what do you don't and win, you know?
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, we're a game plan team. You know, we're going to do what we do, but at the same time, you always got to have wrinkles. You always got to put lipstick on the pig and get things ready to go. So, you know, most of the time it's really about how you execute more than your plays and your scheme.
We'll go over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach. Just real quick, how impressed have you been with Jordan McLeod and his adjustment to the offensive scheme? I mean, throwing for over 300 yards. What has really stood out to you?
Yeah, he's just a pro ever since he got here. You know, he's gaining more confidence every day in the system. And you know, I think Saturday was big for him to go out there and in front of a packed house and really your first big game as a you know, Bobcat. And he went out there and performed like the Sun Belt Player of the Year that he is.
And we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Yeah, Coach, quick turnaround. Obviously, you got 5 days to get ready for Arizona State. What's something that you're really keying on? I know you're on the practice field right now. You can't give away too much, obviously, but just something that's going to be really important for you to be able to beat Arizona State Thursday night.
Yes, Scatabo is you know, probably the best back in the country. He's unbelievable, and we got to be able to match their physicality, their energy, and we'll see if we can do it.
And we'll go over to Sam. Sam?
Hey, Coach Kinne. You know, a lot of questions about the short week and coming up on Arizona State, but just want to take a second to think about the UTSA game. Kind of a, you know, last year you guys had your first win over Baylor. This year it's the first win over UTSA in that I-35 rivalry. How important is that for your program, and how much of a boost does that give to your team about kind of the stakes of this year and the opportunities you guys may have if things keep going this way?
It's huge. It just like the question last week, like the take back Texas, like now that's the time for that. You know what I'm saying? Like now you got an advantage in recruiting. Now you got an opportunity to you know, flex a little bit on those guys, which is hard to do because Coach Traylor and that program, they got that thing going. The culture's right, the recruiting's right, the operation's right. So for us to be able to go beat those guys, that's a huge deal for us in our program.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach, for joining us. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very happy for our kids getting a victory on Saturday night. Chattanooga played an outstanding game. I really like where our team kept their composure and resiliency during the game, had opportunities to fold the tent, and every time Chattanooga went up, our team answered and scored. So showed a lot of things, definitely a lot of things to learn from the game, which we did, and kind of put that game to bed today and moved on to a very tough Vanderbilt team out of the SEC. It posed a lot of problems to our defense. Their quarterback is a dual threat guy. The new offensive coordinator has added some triple option elements, and they still got inside zone and zone read, zone arc. So every type of run scheme known they have. They're big up front. The defense is, you know, in the 4th year of Coach Clark's system, so you can tell they're very sound and know what they're doing. They're flying to the football on that side of the ball. So we got work cut out for us on Saturday. Open up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Stan. Stan?
Hey, Dell.
Hey.
What areas did you see the most improvement from game 1 to game 2 now that you've seen the film?
I would say collectively just finding other people that can contribute on offense. And then defensively, I thought we did a better job of stopping the run. Still got to do better. And coming out defense, we actually had a great punt down on the 2-yard line, and we allowed an explosive play because of bad eye discipline. Offensively, we had opportunities when our defense got turnovers that we did not capitalize on. Missed a field goal, had an opportunity to get Chattanooga offsides, we jumped. So the little details of things we still got to make sure we clean up and just try to get our players in the best situation possible for them to be successful. But I was encouraged by seeing some different guys on offense contribute and make plays. But we're still a work in progress from a coaching standpoint and player standpoint of just make sure we're working in the same direction and that we're in line with everything that we're trying to do.
Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go over to Brady. Brady?
Hey, Dell.
Hey.
I wanted to ask about a couple of players. DJ Riles had been a quarterback at his previous spot, and you've kind of immediately moved him just, I guess, to get the ball in his hands. What did you like about his game that you wanted to turn him into this kind of like multifaceted role, just catching the ball, moving the ball?
Just what you said. He has a very good skill set. He's a bigger slot type receiver that can break tackles and has a little bit more girth and body composition than Talik Williams. So he definitely added value to a slot position, and he has the ability to make guys miss in space and has earned some more routes and defining his role on what he can add to our offense. So I'm very pleased with his progress of transitioning and you know, he's a work in progress and he'll continue to get better as the season progresses.
And then punter James Allen, you mentioned on Saturday a couple of really big punts. Who found him? You know, where was that, you know, in the recruiting process here? Maybe went a little under the radar because of all the other additions that were maybe more high profile.
Yeah, we were looking for, you know, we were trying to add depth at every single position. We felt like we needed to add depth at that position. And, you know, we got a connection with some people in Australia, and he was on our radar. And then he was very interested in us, and things kind of worked out for us to get him as a walk-on. And he definitely improved from game 1 to game 2 with his hang time on his punts and also just ball placement with his punts on top of that. So he just has to be consistent in punting the football and operation time. But I think, you know, that first game was very jittery for him, and I think a lot of anxiety kind of went out the door, and I think that'll continue. He really does have a big leg.
Thanks.
And we'll jump over to Mac. Mac?
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
First off, happy belated birthday. I know it's
thank you.
Of course. Congratulations on the win too. After that win, the final whistle blew. You're walking midfield to meet the head coach of Chattanooga. One of the first people to walk up to you was your son, Austin. I'm just curious, what did that moment mean for you and for your son and for the whole McGee family? What did that moment mean?
Well, I had a lot of family at the game, so it wasn't because of my birthday. It was really just because of the support of the game, and my birthday just kind of fell on this game. But it always means a lot when you can celebrate with a win and have an opportunity to see family. You know, times are getting shorter and shorter for everyone, and when you can see my uncles and aunts and people that I don't see very often, it always makes things a lot rewarding. And my father is also there along with my brother. So always a special moment to have family around and for them to actually have an opportunity to enjoy a victory. And just having 3 generations of McGee's was very special for me for that day. And like I said, I was more excited for our guys fighting, scratching and clawing for the win. And they played their nuts off during the game. So I'm very pleased with that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, proud for our football team. You know, you take a long flight to Reno, Nevada, play a good football team just coming off a victory over Troy, and really showed our mental and physical toughness, I thought, coming off a hard-fought game against Boise, kind of with a chip on our shoulder and knowing that how important this game was to our season. And probably our best team effort combined in all 3 phases, offensively, protecting the football against a ball control offense, not having any turnovers. defensively, being able to really shore up some things in the run game, settle down after the first quarter and only limit 3 points in the last 3 quarters. And then I thought the special teams probably won the game. It was a lead outing by them. Credit Coach West and that crew. They really were the difference in the game. So looking forward to getting back home versus South Carolina State in Paulson and trying to go 1-0 again on the week. With that, I'll take any questions you got.
All right, we'll start off with Adam. Adam, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. You know, 2 tough games against Mountain West teams your first 2 weeks, one at home, one on the road, but really JC French, just talk about how he's developing. You know, he's taking the reins as a quarterback now and just how he's developing and what you're seeing out of him. He's really distributing the ball to a number of different guys and getting a lot of yards out of those pass attempts. Just sort of the progression you're seeing with him and what's been most, delightful for you.
Yeah, I really can't ask any more than what JC's doing right now as a first-time starter. We've asked him to protect the football at all costs. He has not turned the ball over, knock on wood, to date in his opening 2 games, and he's distributing the ball. 8 different receivers this last game. He's finding the one-on-one opportunities, and he's not afraid to pull the trigger. And then, in the most important moments, I think, in the game, he's really showed his poise. I mean, in back-to-back games, the 2-minute drives right before half were critical. I thought in both games, and he functioned perfectly with that. Does it mean we're perfect? We missed some RPO opportunities in that game. We missed a couple down the field shots that we wish we had back. But just being in control of the game and being a field general, I couldn't ask him any more. He's got several playmakers around him that are home run hitters like Dalen Cobb, a Durham Burgess, a Jalen White. Jet Thompson got into the act last game. Just find the one-on-ones and give those kids a chance, and they'll play well for them.
Go over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach. How great was it to see your team? You get the ball back just before halftime. You got under 2 minutes, 2-minute drill that everybody practices. But to see the way that, JC and Dalen kind of connected there at the end, but to see your team do the 8 plays, 80 yards in under 2 minutes, and then you take that momentum into the second half, how big was that?
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in that. One, it's the nature of our offense being an up-tempo offense, so we feel comfortable with it. But then you got to be able to understand that when the ball's caught, numbers are outside, you get with air and get out of bounds. If the ball's caught inside the numbers, you got to fight out like heck to get the first down to be able to stop the clock. And then, overall with the team concept, I'm really proud of our team that you're sitting there with 3 timeouts going into that. It makes it a lot easier to be able to mix in the run game when needed. I also liked us control our emotion. That was a chippy game with a lot of emotion. One of those, decision-making fouls happened in that 2-minute that allowed us to get, in position with 9 seconds left to try to take a shot to Dalen. So proud of our kids. When the emotion goes up, sometimes intelligence goes down with 18 to 22-year-olds, as I've found over 30 years. And in that arena, in a hostile atmosphere, I thought our kids kept a poise, especially in that 2-minute drive, and executed very well.
All right, go over to Adam. Adam?
Hey, Coach, back on the offensive side of the ball, yards on the ground were kind of at a premium for you guys against Novato. Is that more of something you're trying to work on with your team so that you can be a little more productive on the ground, or was that more of just a product of Nevada's defense specifically?
No, I think a lot of it was a product of the game. That was a high penalty game. You're talking about 24 flags in that game, 14 for Nevada, 10 for us. And we missed some opportunities on some RPOs. We had 2 drop balls on first down that puts you in 2nd and 10. That kind of changes the dynamic when you're sitting there at a lot of 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs, and takes away those opportunities for the run game. So I think a little bit situationally in the game. And plus, like I said earlier, I thought we missed some opportunities maybe to put the ball out on the perimeter. I think JC would say, hey, I could have dealt it out there rather than handing it off in the loaded box. So a little bit of both. As I told our staff, it's going to be really important. Our quarterback's playing really well, but as I've seen over 3 decades, there's always that time the quarterback has an off day. And if your running game is not going, it's going to be a loss. And so it's going to be ultra important for us moving forward that we're just as efficient in the run RPO game as we are in the pass game.
And we'll go back over to Adam. Adam.
Yeah, and I guess just switching over from offense to defense, your defense has played a lot of downs the first 2 games. What are some things that you'd like to see in this game this week against South Carolina State that hopefully can get you guys off the field a little bit faster?
Yeah, definitely. I thought the biggest thing that we did, we cut down some critical gap assignment errors, that we had in game 1. I thought we were a lot more assignment sound in this game. Where we need to get better at is on third down. 10 of 17 last week. And we had a high percentage in game 1 also, and creating more turnovers. We had a huge turnover kit in this game that probably was the difference in the game with Mar stripping that ball out near the goal line. But to get off the field, you have to be great on third down, and you got to create some turnovers. We always talk about getting 3 each and every game and trying to hold our opponent to 33% or less on third downs. And we haven't done that yet this year. So those would be the 2 areas that I hope to see improvement in game 3.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Hail Southern.
So, pleased to come off of, I think, a pretty good team performance last Saturday. I thought in all 3 phases of the game, we played together. I thought we fed off of each other's energy. I think offensively did a good job answering an early long scoring drive that Kennesaw State had with some points of our own. Certainly had a chance for a touchdown, ended up settling for a field goal. But after that, defense settled in, played really well. I think a big key to the game, I think the block punt right before half gave us some points right before half. And then, 2 big 3-and-out stops by our defense in the first 2 possessions of the second half really kind of let us put the game out of reach in the third quarter. And, 2 weeks in a row, which was really nice. We were able to play a lot of guys. Really proud of our players who had to step up this past week. 2 starters out on the O-line. So Quentin Williams and Caden Morrow and King McGowan played really well. With Draylon Washington out, Bill Davis and Zylan Perry played really well, particularly Zylan. So a lot of good things there. I think it showed a little maturity on our team to be able to handle some of those guys being out and playing well around them. But, certainly, our biggest tests are going to be moving forward. Going into a bye week, it's always good to come off of a performance you feel like you played pretty well on. But certainly this week we have a lot of things we need to work on ourselves a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to dodge this hurricane here in the Gulf a little bit and get some work in. But, all in all, our team, our players and our staff have done a really good job of getting us in the position we needed to be in after 2 weeks. So, we got to keep our foot on the gas and keep trying to, make as much improvement from week 2 to 3 as we did from 1 to 2.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach, you kind of hit on this in your opening statement, but how important is it to not only get those guys that time? You look at the stat sheet and see a lot of names, a lot of stats. How important is it to get those guys time? And then how important is that to, get that film where you have this bye week where you can evaluate and move forward?
I think it's critically important. I mean, look, I'm not real big on running up the score on people. I don't know how that helps you as a team at all. All you do is you get people hurt and snaps that don't mean anything. And then you take away an opportunity for young guys to get game experience. And I've said this before, absolutely nothing replaces game experience, and nothing speeds that process up except for actually playing in games. So it's a long season. And I mean, we've had attrition hit after week 1 where you got 3 starters on offense that are out. Well, it's not going to stop. That's the nature of the game. And hopefully, we get these guys back sooner than later. But, you got to continue to build competitive depth. And for those guys to get to play, it's really encouraging for them to play and play well. And going into a bye week, our focus, the first few days of this bye week are going to be 100% on the Raging Cajuns. Certainly, you have a big game coming up after the bye week, but, shoot, we got 10 more regular season games after that. So we have a lot of work to do on ourselves, but getting those guys to play under the lights and for most of them playing really well. It's very encouraging. It's exciting. And I think it's important. I mean, I think that's more important than scoring 50 points just to score 50 points. So for us, it's always about the team and it's about our team getting better. And I think that's the best way for us to improve is by letting those guys play when we get an opportunity to.
All right, we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Coach, this is about excuse me, Casey Osai. I mean, 12 tackles in the game on Saturday, but really rallies to the ball. And do you see kind of him? Obviously, he's one of the leaders of the team, but have you seen actual any other underclassmen or teammates that have really sort of rallied around that, and that he's kind of raised the standard for everyone else on the defense so far?
Yeah, I mean, he's a tone setter, is kind of what he is. And you know, the thing I've been the most pleased with is I think we've had a lot of guys that have grown around him in leadership roles on the defense, you know, where last year it kind of felt like it was one voice and it was just his, and it's a great voice, but you know, it's hard. I don't want to say he did it on his own. I don't mean it like that, but you know, I think when it's one person's always got to kind of set the standard and the tone, I think it's really hard to do that. And it's hard to be that guy every day for everybody. So on defense, you got a lot of guys that have stepped up. I mean, I think Jordan Lawson and Antoine Bayless have grown up so much in the past year. Cam Whitfield has taken huge steps forward. Just as in maturity, you know, he's played well for us for a long time, but his maturity has really kind of risen. You know, Mason Narcisse is a guy that's become a little more vocal, kind of owning that leadership role a little bit. And you know, Keon Martin on the back end is the guy that's playing really good for us as a senior. You know, he had some really big plays in that game. You know, Tyrone Lewis Jr. is a guy that's kind of taking control of the safety room, and he's elevated his leadership role for our team. So, yeah, I mean, I think KC kind of sets the pace a little bit. But you see a lot of people that are trying to match not just his intensity in his play, but his leadership qualities, because, you know, the more guys that you got that are taking ownership in their position groups and leading those groups, you know, certainly the better it is for the whole team. And now KC can focus a little bit more on just playing linebacker because, you know, everybody's kind of, you know, everybody's pulling their weight in different rooms. And that's something that I think has been really good for us and needs to continue to happen. So, you know, I'm proud of KC because I think he absolutely is a tone setter, and he played great for us on Saturday. But I'm really excited to see the leadership around him grow. And you saw, I mean, you know, Ashley Williams played really well for us. Thought that would be a good game for him, you know, with his skill set. And like I said, Keon made some really good plays. So, you know, up front, I thought we did a great job controlling the line of scrimmage. So, you know, linebackers don't get 12 tackles if you're not eating up blocks up front. And those guys, I thought we played with great technique and pad level and physicality. And there are a lot of plays where, you know, we're eating up double teams and he's getting a run through there. And he'd probably be the first to tell you that.
And we'll jump over to Adam. Adam?
Yeah, and I guess, you know, you sort of mentioned in your opening statement, you guys have us too, we have the weather possibly coming through this week, but is this kind of a week, obviously you're going to get as much time as you can on the field, but how much time during this bye week as a whole are you spending on film versus, you know, skill work or game planning and getting ahead and getting a really fast start on Tulane 2 weeks out?
Well, you know, I mean, you're going to have to just kind of play by ear a little bit with the weather. You know, our plan is to practice, you know, get out on the grass and practice, you know, quite a bit this week. I think when you have a bye week 3, it's not the time to really just, you know, pull off, you know, step on the brakes. You know, I mean, for us, we got a long way to go to be where we want to be in the end. I don't want our kids talking about Tulane at all. You know, the first, you know, 3 days of this thing are going to have nothing to do with Tulane. It's got everything to do with our team and us getting better at what we need to get better at. As a coaching staff, certainly it lets you kind of spread the work out over the course of, you know, 2 weeks. So, you know, we'll start working on some stuff that we want to do and start looking at it a little bit. But, you know, I mean, really our focus is on our team right now. And, you know, the good thing is you get to, you know, I get to let the coaches go home, you know, at night, you know, after practice and stuff like that. We don't have to stay up here and do some of that stuff. So get to spend a little bit more time with their families this week. Certainly get on the road recruiting on Friday, you know, and just trying to do some of those things that you got to kind of balance throughout the year. When you have a bye week, it's a great time to do it.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Good to see everybody again. It's hard to believe it's already week 3. I would just lead by just saying again, you know, really really grateful for our administration, our staff, support staff, and everybody, all that it takes to go into traveling a complete program up to your first away game. I think it's really hard. It's something I've always paid attention to. I'm just really proud of our whole operation for how we traveled, the fans that came to support us. And then, the thing that I was most pleased with, but not surprised by, was our players and how they responded to playing a game where it was a tough score at half, but you're still in the football game and having a chance to fight back and see how resilient our guys can be. I thought top to bottom in all three phases, guys played really hard, which is the expectation and the standard here, and continue to play in that game and put some things on tape that we can be proud of. Certainly plenty to fix, but very proud of Matthew Caldwell to come in and be prepared as a backup quarterback to come in and play for his first time at Troy after the injury to Goose. Very proud of our backup two centers taking snaps and operating with no ball security issues on offense, and some resiliency of our defense coming out in the second half. So plenty to build on, certainly plenty to fix, but just grateful for those things. And now the task is even greater in going on a road trip to Iowa.
I appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach, you kind of mentioned this in your opening statement, but, what is the mindset going on the road again into Iowa, and kind of that, defensive, it kind of lays it out to be a pretty low scoring game.
Yeah, I think the mindset always, fortunately, I guess for me, which doesn't help our team, but I've got to paint a good picture. I've been fortunate to be there 3 times and play and see what that place looks like. It's a daunting environment. It'll be so loud. They have passionate fan base. It'll be packed. It's prime time, 3 o'clock for them. So their fan base will be ripe and ready to go. So what your mindset it is, you have to go out there and go swing and fight and play in a football game. We don't have enough games as staff or players to ever not take advantage of playing the joy of a college football game, especially in such a fine environment like Iowa. So we've got to take advantage of another opportunity to get a chance to play this game that they've worked so hard for. That'll have to be our mindset, continuing to get better and attack this, and knowing that it's going to be very difficult for anything to happen, right? It'll be difficult to run the football. It'll be difficult to play special teams. It'll be difficult to get stops in their run game, and that's where Iowa always has stayed, is a line of scrimmage game where they're physically just ready to attack you in every phase. So our mindset's got to be able to answer that physicality and enjoy playing this game.
All right, we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Hey, Coach, your first 2 weeks, 2 tough games, and then, it doesn't let up here as you head to Iowa, but just your defense has played quite a bit, a lot of snaps, a lot of downs in the first 2 weeks. What do you have to do to get them ready for this one, for, what's going to probably be one of the types of games where they have to probably be even more locked in than they were the last 2 games, just to be ready for what's coming?
Yeah, it's, as simple as it sounds, because there's nothing you can sprinkle on this to make it easier. The fact is to play better defense, the number one fundamental thing we better do is tackle the football better. We've struggled in tackling the football and being assignment sound. That's improving steadily, but it's not improving fast enough as we play new opponents, and it'll be no different here. They'll try to expose every gap, and if we don't tackle this back this week, it makes things even tougher. So we fundamentally got to tackle better. We got to be more sound and continue to look at every plan we have schematically as well to put our guys in the best position to stop what is a very mean front and a great run attack. That's just simply what we have to do best on defense.
And we'll go back over to Adam. Adam?
Yeah, and one more question for you, Coach. Just the bright spots for you. You don't want to be 0-2, but what are some of the things that have really stood out to you in terms of growth for your team in the first 2 weeks?
Well, that we've, we have to celebrate this. The honest answer is we've played a bunch of new people. So the fact that we've played a bunch of people and they're learning how to play this game and make plays and make mistakes that necessarily nobody wants to see, but it's the only way you're going to get better. How else to get experience than to play? So I think the bright spot is we have a quarterback we believe in, whom I can believe can be special, and our staff does as well. I'm proud of the resiliency of how hard we've played. And how we've had to play a bunch of freshmen and newcomer players that the only way we're going to be prepared for our Sun Belt Conference is to play them and get them in it. So we got to build confidence and belief in them, but also them get them there, hopefully to fail up, as they say, to put ourselves in a position to be prepared for what will be a very tough conference as well.
Jump over to John. John?
Hi, Coach. John Seppi from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Wanted to ask you about your time at Purdue with Tim Lester and kind of what stood out to you about him kind of in that season working together.
Well, he's a good friend. He's somebody that I admire for who he is as a father and husband first, and then who he is as a football coach. We developed a lot of respect for each other and developed such a great relationship because I knew he was a special football coach and sees it the right way and communicates very well. He's a great man, and I admire him for who he is in both capacities. And we got very close that way and have remained that way. And I've kept up with him and followed him through his time at Western Michigan and now at Iowa. So oddly enough, when you face friends in this profession, it's hard because you root against them once and that's it. But you guys got your hands on a great one up there, and I couldn't think more of him and his wife, Dawn.
All right. Thank you, John. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time. That's all the time we have for you today.
Yep. Thank you all.
Yeah, good to see all you guys again. Happy to get a win last week. Thought we played exceptional on defense, particularly in the red zone. Thought we had one of our best special teams games from a coverage standpoint with our kickoff cover team and our punt coverage unit. We missed 2 field goals, which is disappointing, especially at the time we missed them. It was a chance for us to kind of extend the lead out and kind of pull away from them a little bit earlier. Inconsistent offensively, didn't create enough explosives as we would like. A little herky-jerky where we would execute really well, and then we would have moments where we wouldn't. With the old, we had 10 guys doing good and 1 guy not, and you just can't do that offensively. We got to continue to improve that. So a lot to work on this week. Again, proud of our guys' effort. I thought we ran and hit, and we got a tremendous challenge this week. Really, really good football team coming in here this week, as you guys all know. And so with that, I'll open it up.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Adam. Adam, please go ahead.
Yeah, Coach. Last week, or just a couple days ago, Tate Rodemaker, just talk about the development and improvements you saw him make. He moved the ball around, hit a couple of deep balls, but just some of the things that you really liked in his game Saturday night.
Yeah, I think he took it a step forward. I think he would tell you that he left some things out there. We had some things that we would like to have taken advantage of a little better. And I think Tate, being the competitor he is and the winner he is, would tell you that as well. We did hit some deep balls. We hit Larry Simmons on a post, and it got called back. And then Ethan Crawford came in and made a big play to Justin Reed. We had Tate had a big low red zone completion to Kyron Heath for a touchdown. He had some other 3rd down conversions and long yardage conversions. All in all, we were just inconsistent offensively. We would make some plays and we'd kind of self-destruct a little bit. And that's something we've got to shore up and fix moving forward.
I'll go over to Heath Hinton. Heath?
Hey, Coach, after, I guess, really 6 quarters of football, how would you rate the play of your offensive and defensive line so far?
D-lines played really well. They dominated that game last week. Versus Kentucky, there were times where we played really well too, and at times, Kentucky, played really well. Offensive line, we've been a little inconsistent. There were times, that we really had some good holes in the run game in this game, and our backs didn't hit it correctly. There were times that our tight end self-destructed our run game. We've had moments where we've had guys play really well and moments where we expect them to play better. Just I think every position on offense as a whole, we're individually playing well, but collectively not all the time playing well. Like I said, we've got 10 guys doing what they need to do and 1 guy maybe not so much. And offensively, to consistently sustain drives and move the ball the way you've got to and the way we're going to, we've got to fix that. And but the good thing, it is fixable, and we were better this week than we were the week before. And you're seeing continual improvement, but it's got to happen faster because we're going to have to execute at a high level this week for sure.
Over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach. You had two really explosive plays, the interception for a touchdown and then the long breakaway run. How do you, continue and repeat that success? Looking back last week with South Florida and Alabama, they really kind of struggled in that fourth quarter. So how do you build momentum with those explosive plays and kind of repeat that process?
Yeah. Well, the long run by Kinne was great execution by everybody, and then Kinne gets through and finishes it off into the end zone. He's got great speed. He's a young man that's got a bright future. And, that's the thing with us. We've got a lot of talent. We've got a lot of kids that want to do good. We've got to continue to practice better. And, because playing well on Saturday is earned throughout the week. And we've got to continue to practice better and earn that. As far as Dillon's pick six, man, it was a great play by him. It was a great call, first of all, by Coach Big Nail. We got a little tag to our coverages to give them a little tip on the situation. That was a long yardage situation. Coach Big Nail made the tag to that call to alert our DBs that they could play with a little more depth, where they could play the routes top down and attack downhill. Dillon got that tip, and he did. He scooted back, and he played his technique perfectly. Broke on the ball, made a great catch, and then he's really fast, so it was great to see him get that thing all the way to the end zone.
Heath, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I do. Coach, talking about Tate, it was a third down since 30, and he made an out throw that showed arm strength. Have you had a starting quarterback at Southern Miss that's been able to make that throw before, or is he? Maybe Ethan could, but are those two guys the only guys you've had to be able to do that?
Yeah, Heath, that was a really talented throw, and you were talking to he made an off-schedule play this week that was a big-time play where he broke out of the pocket and made a long throw on the run. He can do that. He's a really talented young man. Ethan is too, and so is John White. We just got to continue to make sure our eyes are in the right spot where we can read it correctly, because I'm proud of the plays we did make. But at the same time, I think, all of our players on offense would tell you there was a lot more to be had out there. And we're just disappointed in our execution collectively as a whole. But that's something we can control and something we've got to control, something we've got to embrace, and something we've got to get better, because we're tired of saying that. It's time to execute and time to let our talent show.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for today. Do appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Sure. Well, obviously a good win for us. It was kind of a tale of two halves when you really look at it and you really break it down and, you say, what was the difference? I think in the first half, obviously created some adversities for ourselves. Starts with 2 turnovers, one on the punt return, and then, the other on the interception. We had 5 penalties. 2 of those penalties were holding penalties that negated some very big momentum plays. And, so you really look at the penalty yardage. We started fast. We had 3 drives that we were inside the Tulsa 36-yard line, and kind of like this same of the first game, we came away with 7 points. And I thought our players were pressing a little bit. And then the second half, I thought we played more to our standard. We started fast. We had complementary football. We scored the first 2 possessions of the second half, and then combined that with the 77-yard punt return. And then defensively, the whole key was we were able to force 4 3-and-outs. And then I thought one of the critical stages of the game is they do score, and then we were able to answer their score with a 14-play, 79-yard drive that ate up 6 minutes. And then the whole key to winning the fourth quarter, we've worked really hard on that. That's one of our program philosophies, is we were able to possess the ball, and that's the whole key to winning the fourth quarter. We possessed the ball for almost 12 minutes. So a tale of 2 halves, but again, we all kind of know what's at stake the next 2 weeks. and we have to get better in every phase, especially the details to, in execution. I think that's the big thing, the fundamentals, the footwork, the hands, the eye discipline, all the little things that we'll continue to work on.
Start off with Luke. Luke?
Well, Coach, you just touched on it a little bit about finishing in the fourth quarter. I know the last few years you've been here, you've been preaching that, you've been preaching that, and you've been preaching that. Here you are, and you got a year where 2 games in a row, you're 2-0, and both games you guys finished in the fourth quarter. How big is that to you in this program moving forward?
Well, I think it's big because everything is centered around winning the fourth quarter. We have a fourth quarter program in the off season. We talk about it every single day. It's the focus at the end of the game, all those things. And I think, when you start to have success in that, they start believing in that even more. And, the whole key is possessing the football. And we were able to possess the football in the second half, particularly in the fourth quarter, and then again, complementary football as well.
And we'll go over to Charles. Charles, please go ahead.
What's going on, Coach?
Hey, Charles.
McKeelan was out again this week. Any update on when we could see him on the field soon?
Yeah, I think it's more, week by week, day by day. He's ahead of schedule right now. Probably don't anticipate him being ready for Michigan right now. But he's doing all that he can, and it's kind of the same deal with Jacob Bear and where he was at. McKeelan's an overachiever. He's going to work exceptionally hard. The team is very important to him, but we also have to be very careful that, he's healed and he's ready to go before we play him. So, I would probably list him as questionable for Michigan.
Go over to Billy. Billy?
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about Jalen's performance that you've seen so far this season, and really kind of a step out performance this past weekend.
Yeah, I thought Jalen really took some positive steps in moving forward, and I think Jalen kind of fits the criteria of a lot of players on our team of not just being a year older, but a year better. And I thought Jalen managed the game very well. He made good decisions with the football. I thought he was more accurate this week, and I think for Jalen, the biggest thing is making the routine plays routinely. It's like layups. And I thought he completed the deep ball. I thought, the deep ball down our sideline to Adam, that was off of a corner blitz. Those guys were on the same page. They did a great job. Jalen was actually hot, in the protection scheme, and he delivered the football. And I thought, for Jalen, I think the whole key is his pocket mechanics and his footwork and throwing with his feet. I thought he was a little more steadier in the pocket. He was able to set his feet. And I think that's a byproduct of stability in the pocket and being able to have 2.7 seconds to throw the football within that pocket. So, a lot of times how the quarterback plays is a byproduct of everyone around him. But I did think, he made some big plays with his legs. He made some instinctful plays. I thought he played physical. I thought he played tough. And for the most part, he took care of the football as well.
I got time for one more from Charles. Charles?
Along the same lines, Coach, Justin Parks had a big game this week, 12 tackles and an incredible forced fumble on the goal line. Just talk about the impact he's having on the defense.
Well, you kind of make me light up because that forced fumble is something that we practice all the time. We've gone back in the archives. We show videos of everywhere we've been, and everywhere we've been, our teams have really taken pride in that. And I think that's a byproduct of your culture. That's a byproduct of your standard and your effort. And, we've had a few clips to show from Arkansas State, but I promise you that one we'll show continuously because he actually didn't have good body position. He actually missed the tackle, but he didn't stop, and he sprinted to the ball. And then here comes the blind pursuit. I think he was violent in the way he raked the ball out. And that was a game changer. That was a game altering play. And so just really proud of him. We've asked him to play a new position. He had a career high in tackles. And I think there's a lot of more meat on the bone, so to speak. I think there's a lot that he can get better at as the season progresses, but he's one of our leaders, and it's very, very important to him, and it shows.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Have a good day and a good week.
Just, obviously, that was a game that we felt like we could have and, probably should have won. But we made way too many mistakes against a very well-coached team. Coach Houston does an unbelievable job. I have a lot of respect for all three of their coordinators and what they do. So, we needed to not make as many mistakes, and we made too many.
Thank you. We'll start with Mike Barber. Mike.
Morning, Coach. Obviously, you're familiar with a lot of Tech's personnel, having just played them, but Ollie Jennings, what kind of challenges does he present? You know his skill set pretty well.
Yeah, I think Ollie does a lot of really good things. He has a great feel for finding holes in zones. He has a great deep, whether they're shorter or deeper. He has the ability to kind of navigate through space and find some holes. And everyone's like, oh, well, he's wide open a bunch of times. Yeah, it's because he gets himself there. And he knows how to find that space. That's a talent, and that's a skill, and he definitely has that. He also is, you can tell he's healthy. He's running really well right now and playing with some good speed. He has the ability to make contested catches. So, with a good frame on him and that sort of thing, he's a challenge to cover.
And then they're pretty deep at that receiver position. A lot of options there. What kind of challenges it present when maybe there's not just one or two guys you kind of need to hone in on?
Yeah. Number 12 made a heck of a play the other day, huh? That was, I just mentioned, I think that was one of the best catches I've seen in a long time. Full extension, and there was no doubt that he caught it. That was amazing. But yeah, they've got a very, very, very deep receiving core. It's a challenge because, they're able to spread the ball out. You're not able to, maybe roll the coverage one way or another. You've got to play defense. And I think that's the thing that it makes you do is you got to really play great defense, and added with the quarterback runs in there and their tight end's ability to catch the football. And then, the guy who might catch it the best on the team might be the running back. So, they have a lot of great weapons on their squad.
Thank you.
Go over to David Teal. David.
Ricky, this will be the third time in 7 years that Virginia Tech has visited Norfolk. If the contracts hold, there are 3 more visits on the schedule. Were you grateful to have inherited that arrangement? It's pretty unusual for a power conference team to go on the road that often against a G5.
Yeah, if you look at our league in the Sun Belt, I'm sure a lot of our teams would love the opportunity to be able to play their in-state opponent like that at home. How many times? I think App, has been grateful or lucky they've had North Carolina, I think, at home and that sort of thing. But it's not something that happens a whole lot. And the reality of it is we're gonna, we also get Virginia, not this year, but in the coming years. So we're pretty lucky that those guys will still play us, and that speaks a lot to those programs, and I think it helps the state of Virginia and in football and that sort of thing. So no, it is a great thing. Now, are there some negatives to it? Yeah, selfishly, the main negative is a resource, I think, for each other. Coach Pry and I obviously have known each other for a long time. We'd probably be a resource for each other if we didn't play each other every single year, but it makes it hard to be able to do that when you do know that you're going to play them every year, almost like a league opponent. So it makes it so that's probably the one negative to it.
Given that that Old Dominion has won both games in Norfolk, how valuable has it been to your program?
Yeah, those are two huge moments in Old Dominion football history. You know what I mean? I was lucky to be part of one, and Coach Wilder did an unbelievable job on the other one. So I think that, yeah, those are pretty special moments when you get those type of wins, especially at home, in front of your home fans and those sort of things. So yeah, it's one of those things to be able to have those type of games in your stadium, be able to sell out the stadium, those sort of that. There's a lot of value to both those things.
Thanks, Ricky.
And you mentioned, David, as long as the contract holds, you got some inside information you need to share with me or anything. I know you're one of the best reporters in the country, so the way you slipped that in there, don't think I didn't notice that.
I do not have any insight, but I just know to cover my bases.
All right.
All right. Thank you, David. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
All right. Sorry about the hiccup at the beginning.
All good. Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep.
Yeah, we went to the sacrificial route for ODU in the conference. We softened up Virginia Tech. So Ricky should have a cakewalk. I mean, we beat them up pretty bad. They should be limping. They used all their plays that they had in their tank. So as a member of the Sun Belt and our initiative to work together, I was, willing to forego a victory on behalf of the ODU Monarchs. So I'm hoping that at some point in the year, Ricky will return the favor. With that, no, obviously a really hard fought battle against a really good opponent. Really proud of the way our guys played, really proud of the way our guys continued to battle. Just didn't make enough plays. We've been successful in some Power 5 games, in our history here. And the one thing that we did in the past in all those games where we were able to make plays and put pressure on the other team, and we were never really able to do that Saturday. They were able to kind of still stay in their flow. We didn't really put pressure on them by getting them behind from a score perspective or taking the lead and extending the lead, which we've done in some other games, which puts a little bit of pressure on them, forces them to make plays. We weren't able to do that. Great opportunity to learn. I think with 40 new players, this is really giving us, and to take that 40 new players and a new offensive coaching staff, it's really giving us an opportunity to learn who this team is, as we get into conference play, which is, ultimately, the most important. Obviously, we want to win them all, but using these opportunities to learn, who we are as a team is going to be important down the road. So not the result we wanted, not the result we were searching for or required, but definitely learning opportunity that I think will help us as we move down the road. So with that, open up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Luke. Luke, please go ahead.
When you look at the special teams performance, obviously some good moments. You had the blocked punt that set you guys up for a touchdown, and then there were some there were some other not good moments. How do you balance that out? And just what have you seen from those special teams guys the first couple weeks that gives you optimism that they can kind of get some consistency in that area?
Yeah, I think again, whenever you face a really good returner or return team, you got to be on. We've made some decisions, I say organizationally, to play some, we call them 1As and 1Bs, some guys who may not be starters, but guys who will transition into the starting role on our special teams early in the season to get them experience, because as we know that the season is long, those guys may end up playing more on offense or defense. You take a guy like Amir Foster last year or Ian Foster this year, he started to see some of his success on special teams. Well, when you flip it on the other side, in this particular game, Virginia Tech had starters on their special teams. So you're going to be in a situation again where, they're playing better players. They're already, a better, a team from a P5 perspective. And then you're putting them against guys that we're trying to develop to get them that experience. From that, we can do a better job of managing what we do. Maybe do we kick it out of bounds? Do we roll punt it? Do we do some things to kind of counteract, not having, the starting wide receiver jamming up our, backup linebacker on punt. The other part of it is, we're trying to develop a punter as well. So we're trying to get him to understand, hey, when we play, especially since he's not from America, like, hey, man, they return this ball in America. They don't return it in Australia because your coach catches it and throws it back to you. Trying to get him to understand the location, trying to get him to understand, okay, hang time and the importance of your location and hang time with a good returner. And I know it sounds like, and I don't want it to come off as like this first couple of games are experimental, but I think you gotta teach guys at some point, and I would rather have that show up against Virginia Tech and be able to teach from, then get in the conference and we still have the same issues. I think, Luke, you've been around here long enough. I mean, there's guys that show up on the field that may not be ready late in the season due to injury. I would be an idiot coach if I don't try to get those guys in games early. Well, the negative of that is you got, Ian Foster out there covering a punt against, the ACC's best punt returner. Well, it all goes together. Hopefully Alec Clark learns now that, hey, my location on the punt may be better than 5 more yards on the punt, making sure I get it outside the numbers. And then again, give credit to Lane. He did a really good job of running up in traffic and not fair catching it, which 90% of punt returners do a really good job. When they get in traffic, they shut it down. And if you watch that clip, we've got 3 guys right there who stopped. Well, because he's running up and everything you say, hey, they start running up. You don't want to run into them. We say breakdown, they shut it down. So there is a little bit of a communication issue to what do you teach from? Okay, you still got to come to balance because he does not have to fair catch it. So I hate that we had to learn that, in Lane Stadium on national TV against a opponent where, the game was tight. But I think, again, when you show that film, all of them were like, oh, I see it now. So a lot of learning experience. I think we keep putting those guys out there because they'll be better down the road from it. I think it'll make us a better team. I think what we did see is we have the ability 2 weeks in a row now to create some plays on special teams, where, last week it was a big kick return. This week it was a big punt block. So I think, again, what we're trying to teach, we're teaching. We still got to continue to develop and grow from in-game experience.
And then one more from me. Take me back to that first drive, obviously, or that second drive. Obviously, a scoreless game. You had a chance to kick the field goal there. If you get points on that drive, do you think that changes the feel of the game?
Yeah, that's the dynamic I'm talking about when I say we never put pressure on them. We go into halftime, it's 10-10 if that happens, and that's a totally different scenario. In the games we've had success, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech last year, we were able to put pressure on them. And putting pressure on them doesn't mean completing every pass and scoring every drive. It was we drove the ball far enough down the field on the second drive of the game, we got 3 points out of it. Versus them feeling like, hey, they stopped us. And those are kind of the moments that we never really got to Saturday afternoon. We dropped some passes that completely change, the dynamic, and good players. They didn't catch the ball, obviously we got to work on catching the ball, you whatever. Luke, you could have threw the pass. So, I mean, you could say the quarterback, we'll put another quarterback in. Luke, if you throw that same pass and the guy drops the ball, it's 2nd and 10, but it changes the dynamic a little bit because what it does is, again, it puts pressure on them. We're playing really, really good defense. Oh, they made a play. Well, now you get into a rhythm. Now you can go, you think about it again, the one time we did put pressure on them, we blocked the punt, 2 plays later, we got a touchdown. And I think, again, that those are the type of momentum and pressure moments that we weren't able to create enough early in the game. And then when we got late, they never felt pressure. So they were able to take that shot. I don't think they take that shot if they're down 3 or down 7. And then if they do take it and they don't hit it, now it's like pressure on them. So we just weren't able to do that. And you do that through execution. And those are the moments that, to me, kind of swung the momentum. We weren't able to hit the field goal on that second drive. I think that gives the offense a boost. We weren't able to get the punt returner on the ground. So really, we probably go in 3-3 or 10-3, if you look at it like that. So those were the moments we missed. Those are the moments that we point out to the kids. And it's not, hey, they were bigger, faster, stronger, and they just threw us to the ground. It was, hey, we had opportunities to put pressure on them with our execution, and we weren't able to do that. If we're going to be the team we need to be, we're going to have to do that with other teams down the road.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Just looking forward to the game this Thursday. Get a chance to come back home, play at 6 o'clock on a short week. Got back late from Ohio, but that bodes well for us having to go to Boonville next Thursday. That was something that we did during the off season. Very grateful that Coach McCorkle and Dr. Urban, our AD, got all that worked out, and I think that helps out our schedule. And had our first practice for this game this week. This morning, had a good practice and ready to go.
All right, we'll start off with Sam. Sam, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Applewhite. Obviously, a big part of South Alabama has been trying to recruit the Mobile area and keep those local kids home. How great has it been for your staff to see a local kid like Blaine come in and be a leading tackler each of the past 2 weeks, kind of to start the season off for you guys?
No, I think that's testimony, and it's vital. It's vital to have that on your team. We've had guys like Colin Lacey from around here, and I can name a dozen others that are from this area that are playing. Braylon McReynolds on offense, Anthony Eager on offense. We've had guys in the past, so just to continue, for it to be a real thing for guys in their mind. Just got a commitment from a guy locally yesterday, which helps us out as well. Just more guys see that as a reality, and that's what we want to build our team with, people that are loyal to the soil, and keep getting those guys. And that's that has value. That's actual currency in this NIL world now. When guys can actually come to their home school, they're in their city, and be able to save money, and parents can see them, there's value in that.
Go over to Adam. Adam.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, Gio wasn't able to play Saturday, toe injury. Is there an update on his status? And if not, yeah,
he's doing just like he did last week. He's practicing as he can, and our hope is to have him for a game on Thursday. If not, we'll have to wait another week. But it's just touch and go.
And then to follow up with that is, Bishop was able to step in and play. What was sort of your thoughts on his performance?
I thought that was a tough spot to be in. You've got a guy practicing. You're not sure if he's going to play. You're going to be the backup. You're going to be the starter. You got to prepare like the starter. But I thought he did a great job going in on the road. There's always going to be plays as a quarterback, or really any position that you want back. But I thought he did a good job throughout the game, took care of the football, gave us an opportunity to win. We had a couple possessions there at the end of the game. One, we were down by 4 at midfield. Another one, we were down by 7 at a -20. We had opportunities, we just didn't execute. And as quarterback, you need the other 21 around you and special teams to execute as well. And there's some things that kind of got us in that hole that he found himself in the fourth quarter. But I thought he did a great job of leading, playing tough, keeping our football team in the ball game. So, maybe that'll come back as a blessing in disguise later down the road. You hate to say that kind of stuff, but the reality of it is in college football, you usually end up playing 2 quarterbacks during the season.
And we'll jump over to Billy. Billy?
Yeah, Coach, a pretty back and forth game over this past weekend. What are a couple key things that you really want to see out of your team this weekend at Northwestern State?
Well, every game has its own, story. That game last week was a great lesson for our football team in terms of the last 4 and the first 4, the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And, we gave up a touchdown on the 2-minute drive, and then had a 15-play drive that bled us out to start the third quarter. That's a 14-point momentum swing. If one of those drives gets stopped, we scored on our first drive offensively. So it's 17-17 ball game. So when you're sitting there 10-10, and the next time you touch the ball as an offense, you're down 24-10, that changes your mindset. It changes your play calling. And we were able to climb back in it and get it within a score. But I think that's the big lesson to learn. It's just kind of like life. How you finish things and how you start things is really important. We had some freshmen, some young guys defensively in that situation, but that's a learning experience. And, that's something that we've got to be better at.
All right, we go over to Billy.
Yeah, Coach. And then just following up on Sam's question earlier, how important is it to have this game at home in Mobile, and what that means for the community?
Anytime you can play at home, the way the season starts off, there's only a couple of these in the first, there's 3 of them in the first 7. So it's a tough stretch. Most of our home games in the later half of the season, but it being a Thursday night game is huge. There's not a lot going on in terms of other college football games, not a lot of high school games going on. So it's a great opportunity for people to get out to our stadium during the week, get a chance to see our team play. That's the bottom line. People getting a chance to come see your program, come see your stadium, come see your facilities, all the nice things that we have over here. And then, support the local guys. There's so many of them on our team. I could go through the whole roster, but Jared Hollins at quarterback, Bam McReynolds at running back, Anthony Eager at wide receiver, Ty Goodwill in the secondary. I mean, virtually every single position has somebody from the Mobile or Baldwin County area. So to be able to move that game, and I appreciate Dr. Urban and Blaine on the other side, making this thing happen. So it's great for our city. It gives people something to do on a Thursday night. So we're looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Yes, sir.